being set here, and the fans are out in full force making a lot of noise. And as you mentioned, the very first time this team has played in the championship round in this new building, having moved from Oakland, and the crew is here with Magic Johnson, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Jalen Rose. So, in basketball, quite often the magic number is 3, as in big 3. That's something, Magic, that you know a little bit about with Kareem and Worthy. And we were just talking, or they were just talking about this big 3 they've got in Golden State, and Draymond and Steph and Clay. They're closing in on a 4th championship. Should they get that? What exactly is it we should say about this big 3 and their place historically?
Well, I think they've become one of the best trios that's ever played basketball. And you think about my Lakers, we won 5. You think about Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, they won 5. You know, so you come up right behind those 2 teams. And some of the other guys did. You think about Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Paris, they didn't get to win 5. Mm-hmm. I mean, so that's what it's all about to me.
They won 3, and I don't think it's an accident that you mentioned that. Stephen A., how about it? I don't think people are inclined to say this is one of the great trios in the history of the sport, but should we be?
Oh, they definitely should. But I also think you have to understand why. The game has changed. The game has evolved, and a lot of people have been watching basketball for decades. Look at the game of basketball today. The rules changes, the implementations by the league office and what have you. The fact that the game is not called as tight. The physicality is not loud to the degree that it was. The road to prosperity doesn't appear to be as difficult physically against a player as it was in the past. But it doesn't take away from the gifts these extraordinary players have. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever created. We're talking about Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, and so many other great shooters, and we still sit here and say Steph Curry is the best. Klay Thompson is a top 5 shooter in the history of basketball, period. And then you got a guy like Draymond Green, who's so skilled in terms of being a point forward, orchestrating an offense, and so elite defensively. Jordan with Pippen and Rodman, as great as they were, especially defensively. Offensively, Jordan was, but Pippen and Rodman were not these brothers. You look at Magic with Worthy and Kareem, it speaks for itself. Bird, McHale, Parrish, it speaks for itself. But this team right here, these brothers are something special.
Yeah, but there's a dynamic that interrupted them. Kevin Durant. So we don't know how to assess it because we're the best team. I know the best team in the regular season didn't have Kevin Durant, but they didn't win. And so, yeah, you can compare them favorably with any of the trios, but where do you put Kevin Durant? And if you take him out, so now you've got, 2 fewer championships. Now, Stephen A. has pointed out, he's been right about this all season. Golden State has a chance to win a couple of more starting right now. And then we'll see if they can keep their health and their interest. And I think the interest is the big thing. There's no fatigue because they missed those 2 years, right? And they want this back, and they want to show, yes, we are who you thought we are. I think that matters. But I don't know how to place them as a trio because Kevin Durant, the dynamic of Kevin Durant changed the whole thing, at least for a while.
That is very intelligent. I'm glad you brought that up, Wilbon, because I was going to go there too because he was there for 2 of them. Now, what's going to be special for Steph Curry and put him in elite company, all-time great legacy company, and Magic knows this, if he can win before KD and after KD. And you know that's something that he really wants to get accomplished. And let's not underestimate what the Spurs accomplished with Manu, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan. Magic brought them up. But I have to just say this. Michael Jordan was actually a part of 2 separate big 3s.
No question.
Yeah? Okay, Scotty, Mike, and Horace. Scotty, Mike, and Rodman. And I got 6 championships for him. No blemishes.
I got my own show in the morning on First Take. Y'all might have heard of that. And I got to tell you something. I specifically didn't say it because I was saving it for this set right here. I got something to say, okay? If Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors win this series, they're going back-to-back. They're winning the next 2. Steph Curry will surpass LeBron James with 5 rings. This one right here is tough. I think it makes next year easier because Wiseman will be back. I'm going there. I'm going there. The Golden State Warriors win the next 2 and 3. But I think if they win this year, they're going back-to-back.
Stephen A., let's let them win this
I'm just saying. I'm hearing that
at
Go
home.
ahead.
No, what I was going to point out is this as well. Give Coach Steve Kerr some credit, too, because now it elevates him as one of the greatest coaches that's ever lived as well, if they can win 4 championships.
And when we separating these all-time great dynamic trios, you can't underestimate the teams that won it back-to-back or the teams that won it 3 straight times. That's elite dominance.
Yeah.
And Shaq and Kobe actually was able to do that. In the early
KD hadn't
2000s.
if Kevin Durant hadn't gotten hurt, they would have three-peated. They would have swept Toronto.
Michael Wilbon, on the screen there, we of course see Steph Curry as he's going through his somewhat legendary
It is
warm-up
legendary.
drill. What's at stake for him
Price of
here?
admission.
We can talk about the trio, and we understand that they are a trio, and they'll be remembered that way. But almost every trio has the one star that stands out above the others, and clearly that's Steph here. What's at stake for him these next 2 weeks?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people care about the MVP of the finals thing, which I never cared about. I don't remember. I know Magic won multiples. I was at all of them, and I don't remember who necessarily was the MVP of all of them. I know Jordan had all 6 of his, but there's some others. And so that does not define Steph Curry to me. Steph Curry's greatness, Stephen A. has talked about it, the shooting. Steph Curry's greatness stands alone already for me. But if you get that 4th and you keep working on it, and if he's healthy enough and he stays with these teammates, then he puts himself in a category with very few other people. And point guards, to me, the only point guards in that conversation, really, Irvin, Isaiah, Dennis Johnson. And people forget about Dennis Johnson.
Forget about Dennis
it's
Johnson.
sad. They shouldn't forget about Dennis Johnson, but they do. But you go into a category where you're further immortalized. It's just more. You're piling on, and that's a great thing. That's what sports is about.
Well,
when you
to
get
be
that level.
further immortalized, and I love it, and I always bow down and pay homage to the legend. In order, when you separating these all-time great players, you can't ignore Finals MVP.
Okay.
You just can't do it. If they win the championship this year, and Draymond Green, for example, is the MVP, that's not going to necessarily be the legacy boost for Steph individually above some of the all-time great players who have actually accomplished that.
I'm not talking about this man, but I need to tell, without mentioning their names, on a few Hall of Famers. Because a lot of times when you run into Hall of Famers who have been champions, what they do is they say, look at somebody like Steph Curry, and they tell you, excuse me, did they win an MVP? I mean, did they get it done? You would have held up.
That's a small club.
I'm
That's
just
a
saying.
small
But
club.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we
and
are.
I want you
You're
to
right.
speak to this, Magic, because that small club matters. When you cover the game, guys like yourself who did it have a right to say, you have to hold people to the same standard you held us to. Are we accurate in saying that?
Oh, no question about it. And let me say this, we love Steph Curry. He's
Oh, no question.
him and LeBron James are the 2 biggest worldwide superstars. I'm talking about celebrities in this game, no question about it. I think he wants to play well in this series. Why? Because people have been saying it. It's not going to define who he is. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greatest already.
Yeah.
He doesn't even need this championship, but it's just
But it'll
for help.
elevate.
Exactly.
Yes.
It just helps your resume. It helps you to say, you know what, I won 4. And I think he's looking at it like Kobe looked at it. When Shaq left, he wanted to prove to everybody he could win without Shaq. Championship. Steph is doing the same thing. Okay, KD, you left, but I'm going to show everybody I can still win a championship without you, KD.
I guess we could look at it this one way. Tonight in this building, we will have the 2 greatest point guards of all time, both in the building, Magic Johnson and Steph Curry.
Is Isaiah on the way? Hold on. Whoa. We're not doing that. We're
know you
not
got
doing
Detroit's
that. Isaiah,
finest
back-to-back
right here.
bad boys. Stephen A. know this.
I just don't know if you would say that if he wasn't in Detroit. That's all I'm saying. I don't mind it, but I don't know if you said that if he wasn't in Detroit. I just
Fans
don't know.
are ready to cheer for their guys, and we're getting ready to count it down. We'll be with you on ABC.